Okay, we'll start with this. More on the story I talked about yesterday in my previous video is MVP has inked an ESPN deal, and now Baumgardner vs. Shin headlines an April 17th show. MVP announced Friday a multi-year deal with the sports broadcaster until 2028, confirming the first 3 shows. It was also announced that Alicia Baumgardner, the Ring IBF, WBA, and WBO super featherweight champion, will make her return on April 17th against Benavidez Shin at Madison Square Gardens in Fozie's Theater. The fight will be 10 3-minute rounds.
Uh-oh. That actually favors Benavidez Shin, you know.
Kicking off the deal with ESPN is the April 5th card headlined by WBC lightweight champion Caroline Dubois and Terry Harper in London, England. Also on that card is the Ring IBF, WBC, WBO champion Ali Scottney against WBA champion Mayeli Flores in an undisputed bout. Baumgardner vs. Shin will be the second show of the deal. The third is a rematch between Holly Holm and Stephanie Hahn for the latter's WBA lightweight title on May 30th. Hahn won the first bout by way of a 7th-round technical unanimous decision after suffering a cut from an accidental headbutt. ESPN hasn't broadcast a boxing card since July 26, when Xander Zayas defeated Jorge Garcia by UD to win the WBO junior middleweight title at Madison Square Gardens Theater. That show was the last of a 7-year deal between Top Rank and ESPN.
Rumor has it that Top Rank is set to return to the platform, albeit under different circumstances. What this MVP deal heralds is confirmation of the rumors that ESPN is not done with boxing. They want to stay in the sport.
And the more platforms involved with the sport, the more diversity you get, the more boxing matches, the more boxing cards you get,
the more the merrier.
MVP CEO Nikisa Bedarian said the deal would support the launch of MVPW, the first dedicated women's boxing league.
Boxing league?
When given the opportunity to fight for 3 minutes, I said absolutely, Baumgardner said. This is a challenge that I love to accept. Moving forward, when we talk about equality, we talk about the standard on what we're setting. 3 minutes is no issue. I look forward to it. When you see a style like myself, very poised, who knows how to box, who knows how to punch, who uses a jab to set things up, you appreciate that extra minute. Come April 17th, you'll see again why 3 minutes is the standard and why champions like myself can separate those from others.
3-minute rounds in a women's boxing match is received with mixed reviews and mixed results, because the idea was that if you give the fighters that additional minute, it will result in more knockouts, and more knockouts means more marketability.
Except that additional minute hasn't resulted in more knockouts, and some people complain that the additional minute takes away from the fast pace of a women's boxing match, which they feel makes it more marketable and more exciting than some men's boxing matches. So I don't know that 3-minute rounds are really the answer. For Baumgardner, it marks another significant card she'll fight on since signing with MVP last year, but her first as a headliner. Baumgardner, 31, was the co-main event to Katie Taylor's majority decision win over Serrano in their third bout on Netflix July 11th, when she defeated Spain's Jennifer Mirandia by UD. In her last bout, the Fremont, Ohio native won a unanimous decision against Layla Boudoir in a 12-round fight with 3-minute rounds, and the co-feature to Anthony Joshua's 6th-round knockout of Jake Paul on December 19th on Netflix. Shin notably lost a majority decision to Dubois in March of 2025, though not before Caroline gassed out towards the tail end of the match and started taking punishment. Could the same thing happen to Alicia?
It absolutely can, especially if they're fighting for 3-minute rounds.
When Caroline fought Benavidez Shin, it was for 10 2s. This fight that Alicia is about to have is for 10 3s. And we've seen Alicia, on more than one occasion, gas out and slow down as a fight progresses. You don't want that to happen with Benavidez Shin. Pressure fighter the likes of a Delphine Persoon, a South Korean version, who's going to keep the punches coming and the pressure on so long as the fight is going on. You'll get plenty of countering opportunities with a Benavidez Shin who will do her best to make a mess of things and make it a fight, where Alicia is going to try to keep it a boxing match.
Controlled pace, 1 or 2 punches at a time.
Hard punches, but will it be enough to keep off Benavidez Shin? Caroline Dubois struggled to keep her off, and that was at 135. This fight is at 130.
There is room for Alicia Baumgardner to look lackluster in this fight. to look human.
She's been under a microscope ever since the doping fiasco after the second Christina Linardatu fight, and some people feel that if she's lost her pop and her knockout power, that might be why.
That's what the gossips are.
Thus, fighting on a big platform like an ESPN, there is added emphasis for Alicia to not only win, but win big and look good doing it. She looks good most of the time.
Damn good.
She's got to look good with Baumgardner Shin now, and that's a little bit hard to do because of the kind of fighter that Baumgardner Shin is. We'll talk more about it as the fight date approaches. Now it's time for another installment for what has fast become the most popular segment here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail! Guy who goes by the name Gas Shining Star didn't like my previous video about Bruce Carrington demanding that Inoue come to America to fight him.
Me saying that Inoue doesn't have to. What the fuck does he look like taking marching orders from what is an undercard fighter?
Gas Shining Star said, go to Japan so Inoue can illegally wrap his hands? Nah, come to the United States.
Illegally wrap his hands? What the fuck is he talking about?
He's talking about how the Japanese Boxing Commission allows for a fighter to stack their wraps, which is not allowed everywhere you go. When they fought in Saudi,
where the fights are overseen by the British Boxing Board of Control, that commission doesn't allow for stacking, but you know which one does?
The Nevada State Athletic Commission. The same commission that allowed Floyd Mayweather to inject silocaine into his hands is the same boxing commission here in the United States that allows a fighter to stack their wraps, just like the Japanese Boxing Commission, because the rules and regulations in America vary from state to state.
Same way the rules and regulations vary from country to country.
It's not that stacking your wraps is illegal across the board, because it's not. Some commissions allow you to do it, and some commissions don't. The British Boxing Board of Control doesn't allow for you to do that, but some commissions in the United States, they do.
Didn't Felix Trinidad used to stack his wraps?
A lot of fighters based out of America have stacked their wraps. Now, why do fighters do that? To protect their hands. Where a guy like Gas Shining Star would have you believe that they're adding something to the punch by stacking their wraps, all they're really doing is protecting their hands, because if you're a puncher like Inoue, you are likelier to develop a stress fracture, a hairline fracture, a boxer's fracture, because you're punching these guys so hard, you're damaging the bones in your hands. So you need that added protection. Though in the scramble to denigrate Naoya Inoue, that is the latest accusation they like to make against him, that he is illegally wrapping his hands, that he is somehow cheating.
Sort of reminded me of Sean Zattel implying that Inoue is doping over there in Japan, and that's why he's based out of Japan.
Him being Japanese never dawned on you as the reason he might be based out of Japan, and that being the premier market for the lower weights. It can't be that. It's gotta be because he's doping.
There's gotta be something so they can denigrate this guy. They really resent that Inoue doesn't pander to the Americans because he doesn't need to. He's already one of the highest paid boxers in the sport, all without an American audience.
And they resent him for it. They resent that all the way over there in the Far East, in the land of the rising sun, there is actually a bigger boxing match than most anything happening in America. The only thing happening here that would rival Inoue's fight with Junto Nakatani would have to be the old fogey fight between damn near 50-year-old Floyd Mayweather and damn near 50-year-old Manny Pacquiao.
It's just fucking sad.
Two guys old enough to get regular prostate exams. That's the biggest fight happening on American soil, because Haney versus Norman,
Stevenson versus Lopez, Garcia versus Barrios, all pale in comparison to Inoue's fight with Junto Nakatani.
Oh, while Bruce Carrington thinks he can peer pressure Naoya Inoue to concede home field advantage and come to America so his scary ass doesn't have to travel.
He's already a global star. I've been to a lot of Inoue fights. This guy sells out the Tokyo Dome. This guy, it comes to Vegas. I called the Vegas fight when he fought Cardenas, and the place was packed. The place was rip-roaring. I mean, yeah, Inoue's already a star, but listen, if you're trying to get a fight with the monster, this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, I think it's him shooting his shot, and
in
some ways, he has a point. Listen, there was a time where you had to come to the U.S. and make it big in the U.S. to be a star. I think I do think that time has passed, but there is still a nostalgia about that feeling. So I don't think it's completely out of the realm to at least put it out there and say, no, you gotta be big in America. You're big in Japan, but you gotta be big in New York. It's worth putting out there. If you're fishing for the big opportunity.
Well, from the right mouthpiece, it actually.
Don't overanalyze it and overexplain it, because all that really is another scared American fighter who doesn't want to travel, because he knows oftentimes foreigners come here and they get jobs.
How many Eastern Europeans have you seen get screwed by American fighters? How many South and Central Americans?
But what American fighters like Bruce are really expressing with their aversion to traveling is a guilty conscience, because they know what goes on here. They know what's likelier to happen.
This isn't about landing the Inoue fight, because if you want to land it, you have to accept that you're the B-side. You don't dictate where it happens.
It's not about landing the Inoue fight, because you're not going to land it doing this shit. It's about trying to gain an advantage. Though what would it profit Naoya Inoue, who's the clear A-side here, to concede home field advantage to you, an undercard fighter? Because that's what Bruce is. Whether you like him or not, he's not a headliner. He's not a main event fighter. Spare me the claptrap that Inoue would have fought his way to being a 4-weight, 2-time undisputed champion, that he should now concede home field advantage to what is an undercard fighter.
Putting upwards of 55,000 asses and 55,000 seats so that he can now take his marching orders from a guy who won a vacant title.
On a fucking undercard. This American exceptionalism is disgusting, and it disgusts me. Harvin Magler had to travel for the Alan Minter fight that saw him become a world champion. More recent years, Errol Spence Jr. had to travel to Sheffield to box Kell Brock. Terence Crawford had to travel to Scotland to fight Ricky Burns. So who the fuck do you think you are that you think you don't have to travel to land an Inoue fight with this bullshit?
Oh, I think it would be bigger in America.
You don't get paid to think. Nobody gives a fuck what you think. You want that guy, you gotta go over there. And that's if he even decides to give you the time of day.
Because he doesn't have to. He could retire right here and right now and go down in history as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Whatever he's doing now is just extra credit and points for style.
Men's cruiserweight news. Jai Opetaia calls heavyweight move to challenge Usyk unrealistic. It would mean more to the Ring Magazine, IBF, cruiserweight champion to fully unified titles in his division, however, which makes a jump up to Usyk's weight class unrealistic to the Aussie Southpaw at the moment. If the heavily favored Opetaia beats Brendan Glanton this Sunday in Las Vegas, facing the winner of the May 2nd bout between WBA WBO champion Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez and David Benavidez, would offer Opetaia the opportunity to add 2 more cruiserweight crowns to his collection. Opetaia, 30, would still need to beat WBC champion Noel Mikhailian to become undisputed champion. If he were to win against Atlanta's Glanton and Ramirez or Benavidez, he'll fight Glanton for the Zuffa boxing belt as well, but Opetaia explained his legacy-building goal to a panel consisting of Max Kellerman, Mike Coppinger, LaShawn McCoy, and Chris Arreola during the most recent episode of Inside the Ring, which premiered on Monday on DAZN. I'm chasing undisputed, Opetaia said. You know what I mean? And until I tick that undisputed box, or, get these unification fights, then, the heavyweight chapter is further down the track. You know what I mean? I feel like there's no rush for me, and just because everyone keeps bringing up the heavyweight, even putting my name in there with Usyk's, I feel like it's just a bit unrealistic, to be honest. You know what I mean?
I do. Jai Opetaia and Alexander Usyk were never actually on a collision course because Usyk had long left the cruiserweight division when Jai Opetaia came into prominence, and they're in 2 very different stages of their careers. Jai is just now really coming into his own, whereas Usyk has entered the twilight phase of his career.
Jai continued, I'm not just gonna say his name and chase him disrespectfully just for clout, if that fight did come up, obviously, who would turn that fight down? I'm not gonna sit here and disrespect someone who's done so much for the sport just to get my name out there. You know what I mean? I'll carry my name on my own back.
A lot of American fighters could learn from Jai Opetaia's reserve and his trademark stoicism.
Ukraine's Usyk, himself a former undisputed cruiserweight champion, is scheduled to face kickboxing legend Rico Verhoeven in the main event of a ring card DAZN will stream May 23rd from the Giza Pyramid Complex in Egypt. Paramount Plus will stream the Opetaia versus Glanton fight as the main event of a triple header scheduled to begin at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at the UFC's Meta Apex Performance Complex. Opetaia is a 20-1 favorite according to DraftKings over Glanton.
Glanton, who would service as a common opponent between Jai and former Cruiserweight champion Chris Smith, who warns Glanton that he's got to start fast. His only chance versus Jai is in the first half of the fight.
Is that accurate? I don't want to sound like an armchair critic or a know-it-all, but I'd say it's the opposite.
At the start of the fight, Jai's going to have a whole lot in the tank and a whole lot of power on the punch, so that if you rush him at the start, he's going to walk you into something heavy, something hard. A lot of Jai Opetaia's fights haven't gone the distance, so it's actually better to try to outlast him.
If you even can. Let the fight drag on. Let it progress so that his energy reserves wane, because we've seen Jai Opetaia get tired on more than one occasion. In both the Mayris-Briedis fights, he gassed out.
I don't think it's a good idea to rush him at the start and try to jump on him. You might jump into a punch. I think you have to do your best to outlast him.
Which is a tall ask, but you let the fight drag on, and then you jump on him, making a conservative effort to keep something in the tank for later on. Easier said than done, all things are, but I think that would be a better strategy than just rushing Jai Opetaia.
And the Usyk stuff?
The Usyk fight was never realistic, but in some ways, neither is Jai Opetaia's goal of becoming this division's undisputed champion, because neither Zurdo Ramirez or David Benavidez have any immediate plans to face him. And if you've been paying attention to the media, they've been coming up with excuses not to fight him, that if Noel Mikhailian is still WBC champion after their fight with each other, they would sooner unify with him than Jai Opetaia,
who suffers from a case of being too good for his own good. I'm tired of seeing people in the media overanalyze this and over-explain it. It's simple. He's too risky for them, so they don't want to fight him. He's not at the top of anybody's priority list.
And it's not because there ain't no money behind him. There's plenty of money behind him, behind Zuffa. So if you fight him, you stand to make a big score, but not big enough for these guys to nut the fuck up.
Don't give me the bullshit about how fighters are never scared to fight, how fighters aren't scared of each other. These guys are clearly scared of Jai.
That's why Zurdo Ramirez chose to fight Chris Smith instead of Jai. That's why he's now choosing to fight David Benavidez.
And that's why David Benavidez has no immediate plans to face Jai, even if he beats Zurdo.
They're scared, and it's as simple as that.